Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Oh, it's good to be back. I really enjoyed my time away, but I'm also really excited in coming back with fresh eyes, a new focus, and some exciting things I want to share with you tonight. So I'm so happy to see all of you are rejoining me, and I see so many familiar faces. This is great. Also, welcome to the new members who just joined the Elven Soul community. I wanted to take this time during this video to really discuss my plans so that you have a full, clear idea of what is involved in the Elven Soul membership program, as well as on my channel. I got a really funny email during my break from somebody that was like, can you explain to me what your channel is about? And I thought, okay, so this is time to get a little bit more focused and just put it right out there and be very direct with everyone, because I really want to see this community grow, this network of minds to grow. So I am so happy that you've joined me today. So as you can see, the topic, and I just want to say I have been debating whether to call it the Ascension Project or the Enlightenment Project. But I have finally made a decision that I'm going to call it the Ascension Project because I have here a Freemason Bible that I got off of eBay. And something always that interested me was in the very, very beginning, when you open up the book, it says this. Can you see that? It says reserved to brother, because during this time, I guess the Freemason Bible was solely for males. And it says initiated. Can you see that? Initiated, passed, and raised. So that always had me question, well, what is the raised initiation? And something that I have known about is that we have had a obsession, an interest over human accession. And so it's been a spiritual goal in mind for enlightenment and ascension, so that people can transcend from this material world into the spiritual. And so on my channel, we are going to explore more deeply what this means. I have several books here just to give you an example of what ascension actually can mean and how it can be interpreted in many ways. So with the Elven Soul community, we are going to go through the Hindu idea of the inner journey towards ascension. We are going to talk about Jesus and what his ascension meant, being raised back to God, and what that means. We are going to talk about Tolkien and his ideas about ascension. And one of the things that always stood out to me was watching Lord of the Rings. I noticed that Frodo and Bilbo, and of course the elves are more of the guide towards ascension. And Frodo and Bilbo actually represent the pilgrim to spiritual ascension. So we are going to discuss that. We are going to discuss Sufism with Rumi, all about basically embracing the spiritual and transcending from the material and really embracing the spiritual experience of life. So that's really exciting. We're going to discuss minimalism, because minimalism is actually connected to ascension, and enlightenment. And we will go more into that, because the less things that you need, the less you are attached to the material world. So we're going to go into that. We're going to, of course, talk about aliens, beings of light, and the original Palladian messages on spiritual ascension. And we are going to discuss, what does it mean to ascend and to transcend from this earthly plane into a totally different dimension of experience, and what that might look like together. We're going to explore ascension and enlightenment. And we are also going to be looking at it from the Druid and Wiccan way. This is by Talbot Mundi, and this is filled of Druid wise sayings that was given to Caesar. This is a famous book, Troves of Samothrace, and it has a lot to do with Stoicism, with Greek Stoicism. So we're going to talk about that as well, because the Greek Stoics also believed in a transcendence, in ascending. So we're going to talk about that as well. And in the Alchemy and Mysticism book, if some of you have followed some of those videos, we're going to get more into that. But in Alchemy, Mysticism terminology, ascension is enlightenment. And there is a whole chapter on the ladder. So you can see this picture right there, and I have included that for you to see right now. The ladder, that is an art, a puzzle picture that was drawn by Robert Flood. It's actually probably Robert Flood, but I'm saying it more, I don't know, I guess I'm putting like a German spin on it, Flood. So that is to stimulate the mind about the spiritual conquest of ascending back to God, ascending back to the divine. And this book is all about that, because one of the things that the Gnostics and the Kabbalists and all the mystics and heretics of the past, they have been preoccupied with ascension and what that means to actually reunite with the divine, with God. What does it actually mean to reunite with God? What does searching for godhood or enlightenment, as the Buddhists speak about, what does it all mean? So I'm really excited to explore this. And the reason why I am going to offer this on my channel now, and I'm going to talk about why it's going to be private at first. So I have offered energy readings for a few years now, and I have noticed something about my channel and about who I bring into my life. We seem to all resonate with the same idea that we are spiritual seekers and we are learners and we are trying to ascend ourselves. We are actually, might not be preoccupied with it. I definitely am. I think I'm like 85% in my life thinking about ascension and transcending this material plane. But it's fun, you know, it doesn't have to be something really disciplined. It doesn't have to be something that's, you know, really wrapped in secret society, because that's kind of what it used to be, that these mystery schools and secret societies, Freemasons, they all talked about spiritual ascension. And it was only for the initiates that were ready for that information. But we're in a whole new age where consciousness is shifting and the collective mind is connecting. And so souls are realizing that we're all connected. So we don't have to hide from one another any longer. But I am going to keep this playlist going forward private for just members. And here's why. I have learned a very hard fact and truth, that there are many souls that are not ready to ascend. They're not ready to truly explore what that means. And it is no judgment on them at all. That is their personal choice. But what I have seen is that people that are not ready to transcend the material world and focus on the spiritual experience of life, they make fun of others who are. I want this channel to be a safe haven for those souls that want to explore the spiritual experience with others. To the Pleiadians in the rebirth cycle, this would be the spiritual life experience. And that's what many of us who have incarnated into Earth in many forms, in many types, we are here to experience the spiritual experience. And so the material world doesn't hold too much sway on us. We will talk about this together, but many of us will find that we have a lot of similarities, and I'm really excited to explore this. And I also want to know about our differences as well, because I know that there are going to be others that have different types of perspectives that can kind of open my eyes to seeing something new. I'm really excited to explore with you. I have to tell you, I've been a lone wolf, a lone elf on my own on this journey for many, 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 many years. I mean, since I was born, really. I mean, not born, but since I was a child, I felt like I couldn't really talk to others about some of the things that I was thinking and feeling and sensing. And it has to do with the immaterial spiritual experience of life. And this is something that not everybody is excited to talk about. Not everybody is ready to. There's something very, very true that some people have spoken about in the past, and it's not necessarily a judgment, but it's more like a way to let you know where people are coming from. But there have been many people that have spoke about how, and it sounds quite harsh, but it's not harsh, but there are people that they harm others. They intentionally seek to hurt others. They're not on an inward journey, and they're focused on the external world and what they can get from others. They're not seeking inward. And those souls will not understand you. They won't understand me, and they haven't. I know this. I've seen that. Until they are ready to go inward. And that might not be this lifetime. It might only be your particular incarnation that you are experiencing this right now. And maybe they have to go through some other things in order to get to the place where they're ready to have the spiritual experience in life. And it's funny because life itself is spiritual. We could say that. But when I say that, there are people in this world who are like, what are you talking about? It's not spiritual. It's going to work. It's making money, and it's dying. And, it's like, that's not it to many of us that have been spiritual seekers for a very long time or have just started our journey. So I thought that this would be a wonderful opportunity to use YouTube's membership program to allow us to have these types of chats together and to go through these books. And what I'm going to do as a teacher, I will go through and highlight some of the major points to bring forward the messages and the contextual understanding of what ascension and enlightenment means. That is it. That is really what this is going to be the focus of for my Elven community. And it's going to be fun because we can vent to each other. What does it mean to live on Earth and to watch war and suffering and hate and racism and division? What does it mean to see that from our eyes as old souls? And on one level, I believe that all souls on Earth are old because we're as ancient as the universe itself when it first came into existence. But consciousness is funny. It's a ladder, as you see in the picture there. So there are people that are on the bottom rungs of the ladder in consciousness. They can't see what's on top, or they don't want to yet because they're not there yet in their journey. But there are many of us, and all of you have joined me, and I'm so excited to gather more and more people that are ready. We're on like the top ladder rung there, and we want to enter into that place of light, and that is enlightenment. Now, the Gnostics believed that gnosis meant to know the self is to know God. Well, what does that mean? We're going to explore that in a deeper way, and about sharing personal experiences about life and our day-to-day, just our reflections on it and what it all means. So I'm really happy to roll this out, and I'm going to take this money. This is going to really help me, because something you should know is that this is my only form of income right now. The virus really hit me, and I was a teacher, and so I couldn't work in schools, but I also didn't work in the classroom. I was actually an after-school program manager that was in charge of tutor programs and after-school curricular activities. And this is what I want to do. I want to explore spirituality with adults, and even with young children too, but those that are willing to come on that journey with me. So this has been my passion, and I feel like this is finally what I can focus on. So this is going to really help to support me in this dream and in this endeavor. And it's a way to support this channel and my effort. And then I also will see how much money this generates. I also would really one day truly love to build an elven sanctuary for souls to go and party, dance, meet, and mingle at, so that they can know that they really do have someone in the world that understands them. It's really important for me to have people meet each other and to know that you're not alone, because I know what loneliness feels to an older soul, to somebody who identifies himself as an older soul. It can be a lonely journey. And you can be there for others. You could be there for other souls, and you can have a lot of fun. But at the same time, there's something missing. You miss a friend. You miss somebody that can understand you, not judge you, not make fun of you, not mock you, not call you crazy. And that's sad. That's the sadness, the deep sadness that was inside of me for a very long time, is feeling very misunderstood by this world, or by many in this world, and only a select few could understand me. Well, now I am coming out, and I am offering this as a gathering place for all those souls who feel misunderstood, so we can meet weekly, privately, and go through these books together on the topic of enlightenment and ascension and what it means, and help each other through this process. Because to me, ascension and enlightenment does not mean a religious rite that you have to go through and become, initiated with. I don't believe that you need to go through a rite, a passage in a way, but it to me means something about going through your personal life, day-to-day experience and different events, and healing from the past, and then moving into the future and learning from what you've learned, and then taking that and synthesizing it into new information so that you have wisdom now. And then that moves you forwards into the next phase and the next stage. And literally, you are walking up this ladder of consciousness. That's what ascension truly means to me. I think of it as far more of a mental, emotional experience based on the inward journey of learning and just going through life. And I'm not quite sure that the physical types of rituals and things like that are as important. They can help, but ascension to me has always meant really self-reflection and evaluation and analyzing, and then moving forwards and healing. So I hope that we can heal one another from our past, fully transcend together as older souls that are ready. And I wanted to share with you this quote from The Green Mile. One of my favorite movies about an old soul is coffee. Coffee just warms my heart. And he had this quote that I just absolutely loved. And I want to find the longer quote. One second here. I found the shorter one, but it's just such a great movie in kind of showing that type of character that is tired of the world in the way that people unconsciously and in their unawareness hurt one another. So John Coffey says, "I'm tired, boss. Mostly I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. I'm tired of all the pain I feel and hear in the world every day. There's too much of it. It's like pieces of glass in my head all the time." And it just breaks my heart when he says that, because I know what he means. Many of us are tired of seeing the unconscious actions of others. And we ourselves are not perfect. And we are learning as we go through our life as well. But I thought it would be a really great chance for us to use this membership program that YouTube bestowed upon me, because now I've reached past 14,000 subscribers. I'm at 14,400 something, close to 500 now. I'm so happy that I was able to connect with all those souls and they saw something in this channel to do so. So it's really exciting for me to have that. And I'm so glad that YouTube kind of gave this place for us to do this, because now we could do weekly talks on a very private matter of ascension and enlightenment that some people are not ready to talk about yet, are not ready to hear it, and also have their own ideas about ascension and enlightenment that shoves yours out of the way. And what I mean by this is that sometimes with the word ascension, anything that has to do with spiritual enlightenment or anything, sometimes those that are really religious, that idea of ascension cannot come from the individual, that it must come from a priest, or it must come from a certain rite that you go through in religion. And I don't want to limit people. I don't want them to feel like they cannot reach ascension themselves, because you can. Because all of the messages of all the wise people in the past, which I will go through in these books, show us that we can. And it's time to remember it and to just bring it forwards. And that's what I'm going to do, because I love digging into the past and looking at some of the wisdom that was shared by many. I want to share something else too that has to do with the Dalai Lama. He himself is an example of an old soul, a very old soul. And I understand where he's coming from. And I want to read this to you because I want to see if you do too. Because this is kind of the community that I'm thinking of, although I'm thinking of one that not necessarily is about giving up, but about coming together, uniting together, using our brain power, discussing together, and creating this energetic space where we create a catalytic change in the world. Everything is connected. So as we discuss our ascension and our enlightenment in very honest ways and how we can keep transcending, then we are absolutely going to make a change to the world. You're going to start to see that in others. I really believe this, although we're a small group, it doesn't matter. We can be that very small stone in the pond to send out the ripples, and that's energy. So if we put forth the energy to study ascension and enlightenment and to really understand it, to really, own it as part of our pathways and looking at it from different angles, I believe that we can really influence others that are not thinking necessarily of ascension and spiritual enlightenment and things like that. But it will be contagious in a way. That's just my belief. But the Dalai Lama said this December 20th, 2014 in the Los Angeles Times, and you could read the article yourself. The Dalai Lama says that reincarnation might not be for him. What he said was this: reporting from Beijing, adherents of Tibetan Buddhism believe the Dalai Lama, the religion's highest spiritual authority, has been reincarnated in an unbroken line for centuries, but the current Dalai Lama says he may be the last one. In an interview with the BBC this week, the 79-year-old Nobel Peace Prize recipient said that he may not reincarnate after he dies. There's no guarantee that some stupid Dalai Lama won't come next, who will disgrace himself or herself, he said. That would be very sad, so much better that a centuries-old tradition should cease at the time of a quite popular Dalai Lama. The Tibetan Buddhism teaches that after death, nearly all of us are flung back into the world of the living, under the influence of harmful impulses and desires. But through compassion and prayer, a few can choose the time, place, and the parents to whom they return. This affirms Buddhist teachings that one's spirit can return to benefit humanity. It also serves to maintain a strong theological and political structure based around monasticism and celibacy. The process through which reincarnated Buddhist masters known as Tolkis, which is really interesting because Tolkien made one of his Valar, the same name, Tolkis, are discovered, is not uniform among the four main schools of Tibetan Buddhism. But in fact, the Dalai Lama has claimed that as early as 1969, he made clear that the Tibetan people should decide whether reincarnations should continue. He has previously stated that he would not reincarnate in Tibet if it were not free, and he has mused that the Tibetan people should select their religious leaders democratically. In September, the Dalai Lama stepped up his rhetoric at this point, raising the suggestion that, where is he? Oh, I lost the one here. If a weak Dalai Lama comes along, it will just disgrace the Dalai Lama, he told the German newspaper Welt am Sonntag. Okay, so there you have it. The Dalai Lama himself is an example of an old soul that has made a decision to not come back to Earth, that he has done what he can in this lifetime to ensure that he's not pulled karmatically back to Earth to tie up things. So I am one of those souls, not in the idea that I'm at a caliber of Dalai Lama, not at all, but mentally, I have been wanting to find a way to not come back to Earth. Not that I don't love Earth. I love it. It's beautiful here. But I'm ready for something more. My soul is yearning for something more. It's just like, the elves sailing off to the west in Valinor, or Frodo and Bilbo getting on the boat. I feel it in my soul. I know I am not alone. I know that I'm not alone. And so this channel is a gathering place for those that are kind of thinking about that already. And I want to make a very clear statement. Transcendence and ascension to me does not mean to leave the body physically, but to leave the mental plane in a limited form and to experience the spiritual. So it's a merging of two. And I want to stress this so no one ever can come back at me and say, oh, Kimberell's talking about ascension. What is this? There have been many cults. There have been many terrible, death cults that have been in this world that have been about ascension. They have thought that they had to leave their body at the time of a comet coming, and that was ascension. But I believe you cannot transcend, you cannot ascend and walk up that consciousness ladder if you leave from this earth with an unclear conscience and with a conscience that is still dealing with things. You must deal with everything before you leave. So suicide is not an option in ascension to me, because it means that you have to go through this life in all the struggles, all the hardships, and you have to take it as a soldier and a warrior going towards the enlightenment and reaching that divine union with God, or whatever you want to call it, prime source, or simply with your higher self. So I want to make that clear. You're not going to learn that Kimberell Eventide has led some weird ascension cult. Absolutely not. This is about you going through your life, doing a mental check and going into your relationships and tying up loose ends, making sure that you don't harm others, you don't leave an imprint that you're going to have to come back and fix. We are going to discuss what ascension, spiritual ascension, and enlightenment truly means, and how we can transcend without leaving necessarily the physical plane, but you will experience it in your life. Many of you may already experience what we call the ascension symptoms. So things are looking different to you, and you might experience time differently, and things feel a little funny inside. Your perspectives are opening up, and that's what it means to enter into the fifth dimension. We are quite literally ascending into another dimension, but we're going to do it together, and we're going to do it through a personal inner experience of our lives. So it's really an exciting time. Many people are feeling that. And if you're not, well, maybe through the process of studying ascension and going through the past of what it means through all these different ways of thinking about it, the Druids' way of wholeness and inner peace and all of that, then maybe that will stimulate those ascension symptoms, and maybe it will usher you into the fifth dimension, which is basically the goal here. So, lots of fun things for members who join me. It is $2.99 a month, and you just hit join on the bottom, and YouTube will tell you exactly what to do. I'm also going to offer fun things such as offering discounts to my Etsy Elven store, my energy readings. I was even thinking about giving every member a free reading, because I wanted to meet you face to face and have a Skype session to get to know the community. But I thought that might drain me a little, so we'll have to see how that goes. But maybe I'll offer many members free readings so that I can kind of just meet you one-on-one. And then I was also thinking about sharing messages that are more private, such as from tarot cards and things like that I have. So there are other perks to being part of the membership. It's not just that special playlist for you about Ascension and Enlightenment, but that is the major one. It's really a private space. I don't want anybody to come onto our videos and try to negate that process. If somebody joins my channel with ill intention to try to stop spiritual ascension of others, or trying to pull them back down, or, and it can come from a very unconscious place. People don't necessarily mean to be mean or to hurt others, but they just don't know what they're doing. So they're kind of blind to it. But if somebody enters the program the membership program and they don't have the best intentions, I will be able to read through that, through your comments to others and to me. So just be aware of that this will not be a good community for you if you're trying to come and trying to thwart the ascension process for others, because you're going to have a lot of people, a lot of wise souls that are just not going to be phased, and they're also going to read into what you're doing. So this is not the community to mess with. That's what I just wanted to put that one warning out there. And don't waste your money. I mean, it's $3 a month that you could probably use somewhere else. And I would say that if I'm really bothering you, just simply unsubscribe. Don't look at my videos and focus on your own inward journey and your own inner life, because I want nothing but peace and happiness for all souls, for all eternity, and however long it takes. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Other than that, let's go to the chat. I'm going to answer some questions. Okay, so I know I said a lot there. I hope I got it all out there. So let's get to a lot of greetings. I'm so happy you guys are all chatting with each other. Druids, yes, Ren. The Druids. Oh, the Druids were very wise. I mean, part of the fairy folk. Oh, we're definitely going to talk about fairy, because fairy is a realm about spiritual ascension in many ways. It might be a little different in the religious sense, but we're going to talk about fairies, because fairies have everything to do with moving past beyond the material plane and really experiencing the spiritual experience, the light body experience. And so many of us, that's what I wanted to really say, and we'll talk about it more in private, but many of us are souls that are actually ready to move into the next life incarnation, into the light body essence. So your life right now is about completing the physical learnings, the physical experience, the sufferings, everything that you're going through right now, because in your next existence, you are going to experience something very different in terms of not being limited by the body, not being limited by the physical laws of the material universe. So it's going to be a very different incarnation. So it is for those that are ready to move into the light body essence. Really, that's what ascension to me really means. And when you go into the idea about fairies, they are light body creatures, in many ways when we think about it. So the spirits, the elemental spirits, we're going to talk about that and what that means to be in between the realms, because to the ancient Greeks, such as Paracelsus, who discussed the first elemental spirits in a way. I mean, of course, the Druids and many other pagan type of people, they knew about the elemental spirits. The Fey folk, they knew about them. But the ancient Greeks mapped it out, saying that there's a water realm, there's an earth element, there's a fire element, there's air, and there are elemental spirits that reside not in this realm, but part of their realm. And it's going to get very interesting, because we're going to basically be off of Earth. But I'll make sure that we're grounded when we discuss these things, and we have one foot on the ground. And the way I will do it is by making sure that I apply the information that we learn about ascension and spiritual enlightenment to how you can apply it to your material world that you're living right now, where you have to go to a job, you have to go through your day-to-day experiences. We can't just instantly become light bodies right now. We still are finishing up this lifetime. So I will ground us in this process too, so that you don't feel ungrounded constantly just thinking about spiritual ascension. But I'm glad you brought that up, Ren. Yes, druids, fairies, we're going to definitely get into that as well. Peachy Fruit, can you put a link for where to purchase these books for further reading for those of us that want them, please? Absolutely. When I do the book, the videos on the books weekly, I will always have the links to the books that I got, because most of these books I did find on Amazon. So they're really easy to find, and you could find them probably, already pre-owned on eBay for really cheap too, hopefully. So yes, thank you for saying that. I definitely will. Yeah, it'll be almost like a book club. Yeah, I guess I'm building a book club around Ascension and Enlightenment. That'll be fun. Will you speak of shamanism? Of course. I can't wait. I actually, over the break, Siren of the Void, I did get really deep into shamanism. And I really learned what it means, to go into the nether worlds, the underworld. And I'm really excited. I'm going to do a video actually giving a demo of that and how that works and how you can start to practice shamanism in a way on your own. And we will absolutely talk about shamanism, because that is all about definitely transcending the material and entering into the place of the astral fields, the spiritual experience. And yes, definitely. I'm glad you brought that up. Peachy Fruit, transcending is a very personal journey that individuals come to on their own time. Not everyone is ready at the same time, but I believe we are, but one graduating class, if that makes sense. Yes, I love that. Yes, we are a graduating class. I love it. Absolutely. And I think that that's what gives me more direction now, is understanding that this was my focus on my channel the entire time. The elves in Tolkien's stories represent the beings that have already made peace with the world in a way, and they are now transcending and they're moving into Valinor. And what's interesting is it's going back to the original state, but it's also leaving behind Middle Earth in many ways. That's why the elves started walking towards the west and only a few remained on Middle Earth. So to me, that has always been my goal. And I've used hashtag Project Elfenstar on my Instagram and in some videos that ever had that in mind, because Project Elfenstar was something that I came up with about 2 years ago. I was thinking that if I can have people get in touch with the elven spirit of Tolkien inside of themselves, it will transcend them from their life right now and help them in this process of spiritual ascension. Because if you start acting like the elves of Tolkien, and I have personally experienced this, if you start to remember their philosophies, if you start to embrace their way of living, the way that Tolkien described them, oh my goodness, it really helps you move past some of the, the earthly drama and the things that are going on, and you're ready to sail west in many ways, figuratively speaking. So thank you, Peachy Fruit. And you're absolutely right. It is a very personal journey. And that's why I think that these videos need to be private. I do not want those that are not ready for this and it comes to a shock to them, or they come from a different mindset and they think that this is like sacrilegious and it's evil. I've seen those comments. I've had them on many videos before. Are you saved? Because they think that ascension to them is about being saved by the church or being saved by Jesus. Well, we're going to discuss that. I mean, I have Jesus's book right here. So we're going to discuss, how was Jesus raised back to God? How is this process actually going to take place? What is the rapture really about? What is ascension about? Not in a religious sense. We're going to talk about it in a metaphorical, poetic, and spiritual reflection sense. And I think that that's really what I've always wanted to do. I see that a lot of you say that you feel the same way, so I am so excited. Siren of the Void, wow, we are ancient master souls. Yeah, I would say that we are becoming that. I would definitely say that. And I would say that each of us are at different levels of our experience. So we're all going to be at a different like place of learning curve. Like for me, I'm taking on the role of, you know, helping others see this about themselves, but I'm still learning. So I wouldn't even call myself a master soul. Um, but yeah, if you want to look at yourself that you have come a long way because you haven't hurt others intentionally, or you have moved past war and racism and separation and division with other souls, and you have seen beyond that separation, the illusion of separation. If you have done that, then you have mastered those lessons. And if you have mastered the lessons of love and kindness and all of these things that we're here to learn, then yeah, you're becoming a master soul. And I think that that is going up the ladder of consciousness that you see with the picture by Robert Flood, or Flood. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Nurin. It is so exhausting. Yes, it can be really exhausting. I actually did several videos about that. It's called soul weariness. You know, for old souls, it's not always a party. You know, there's moments in time where we're so self-aware of the unconscious lack of self-awareness of others and in ourselves, and we beat ourselves up about it. We can be our worst critic, actually. It has caused me much pain in hurting myself because I know better by the way that I act, and I'm a really terrible self-critic. I'm really hard on myself. So I'm hoping that we can heal together and help each other through this process, because I know that I'm not alone in that. And just remind each other that we are at a certain place in our ascension process, but we still have much to learn. How exciting is that of the universe, that there's still more to learn, that we're not done yet. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing. Just as Elrond the elf said in Lord of the Rings in the Fellowship, he said, you know, the wise cannot see all ends. Even the wise cannot see all ends. That is so important. I want you to keep that in mind as we go through and you join this community. This is not for us to be like, we're master souls and we're graduating and we're ascending. This is about us owning where we are, how far we have come, and how much further we can go. So looking at ourselves as forever students and still learning, I'm really excited. Yay, I'm so happy I'm seeing that you guys are excited about this. Good. Yeah, this all kind of came to me over the break, so I'm really glad that I took this break. This was so important. Buddy Helm, get the good started on the right path early, girl. Yeah. Get the youth started early on the right path. Oh, okay. The youths. Yeah, and we need ascension centers. I could see that in the future. And that's kind of what I've always thought of, like when I worked with kids. To me, the right path is for them to understand their emotions so that they're not reacting solely from their emotions, but they're using their logic. They're making a better choice than what they maybe did previously. I came from a Montessori school, and that's where I worked in. So the Montessori philosophy is always choices and consequences. There's no punishments, and there's really no rewards. The rewards are that you've learned, and the punishments are the consequences of your choices. And that's what I believe deep down inside, what souls experience, that heaven and hell are really choices that we make and consequences of our choices and what we experience next in our existence. So I think that that is really important for kids to learn, but I don't think that they're ready for what we're going to discuss right now. But one day, maybe we can make this, you know, kid friendly in a way. But we're going to talk about a lot of, you know, secret societies and a lot of complex ideas and abstract ideas that we don't want to bombard kids with. Sometimes they're just here to learn what they need to learn. And only when you become an adult and you really kind of identify yourself as an old soul, and you identify yourself as like a star seed, or you identify yourself as, you know, whatever you do for yourself to understand where you are in your life journey, only when you do that can you be really ready to take on that mission in a way, you know. And so it's something that you can't really teach others to be ready for, but that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, kind of thing. And so I think that that's kind of what it has been about. But I do hope that in the future we do have this type of education, this spiritual education, that we will see in the school systems. But we have to get on the same page spiritually. It cannot happen while we have so many different perspectives of religions saying, well, this is ascension, this is enlightenment, this is going back to God, and you don't know how to go back to God. We need to look at each other from having many different perspectives and understanding that there's many, many pathways back to what we consider God, or walking up that ladder of consciousness. And I know that many religious people would say that this is very evil and not right, but all I am saying is that this is a project to explore together. I do not have all the answers for you. I am not going to say this is definitely what's going to happen in the future. I'm not going to say that this is the path to take. I am saying that we can take this time that we have right now on Earth and just explore together and see where it leads us. Yay. Okay, more Winden. I haven't heard from you in a while. I appreciate you. I'm so glad to see you back and well. I'm going to follow this journey with you and will enjoy it every step of the way, as I feel this is something I need to learn about as well. Wonderful, more Winden. I'm happy that you will come on this journey. Yeah, and isn't technology wonderful? Because we don't even have to be in the same place, but I still feel a connection. We still are very much walking this journey together with our mind, you know, because on one level, everything might be just mind, in the idea that everything is energy, and how we process and reflect and receive, you know, the images in front of us. So on one level, we are walking we are walking the path together, even though we don't have to be holding each other's hands physically and in the same room. And even though we might not have ever met, I still feel like a kinship, that we know each other. And I just am going to be more open and transparent, because my goal is to be 100% myself before I leave this earth, so that I could just unload everything, just be completely who I am, not care, and really master self-expression without fear. And then that is going to help me on my personal, you know, transcendence, I really feel, and connect to others. I had a very difficult time connecting to others. This is like a whole new thing for me, and I'm so excited, because I've been all my life not connecting to others because I've been afraid of others and in fear and hurt by others. And now I'm actually trying to connect to others. This is a whole new game for me in a way. More Winden. I am Wicca and practice Druidism. I'm starting to practice minimalism. And if you like to reach out to get a perspective of someone who uses these things in their life, I wouldn't mind sharing. Of course. Yeah. Well, when we go through each topic each week, absolutely show up. And even if you can't come to the live chats, you could still always leave comments for others to see and to learn. We are here in this Elven soul community to learn from one another, to grow with each other, and to feel like we're not alone, and to laugh with each other. And this is really why I guess I'm giving this space, so that we can do that together. Chris Aerosmith, 14,500. Oh, are you talking about the religious number? Yeah, I don't like to give a number to it, but that is associated with Ascension, but it's also got that religious idea too, because it's supposed to be It's supposed to be the rabbis, the male rabbis. I think that's the original Bible idea, but we can talk more about that. Absolutely, because that's all part of Christianity and the Ascension idea and what's supposed to happen during the rapture and how we're supposed to go back to God. We're going to definitely talk about that. Yes, we will. And we'll talk about meat eating versus vegetarianism and all that, because that has a lot to do with Ascension as well. But I think that there's lots of different ways that we can look at it. So we're going to go through this very delicately, very respectfully with one another, because I know a lot of us have different types of perspectives on food. So I am not here to say that you have to do this in order to ascend. We are going to take a look at all the information that we have, and we're going to gather together, and then you're going to decide on your own what is the best, what makes sense to you, what resonates with you. So I'm really just here to provide many perspectives, really. And then you choose what's the best perspective for you or what resonates most with you to give you more clarity on your own feelings in a way. So yeah, we'll talk about that. We definitely will. And what did Peachy Fruit say? It's about having peace of mind and knowing when you are ready. It is not something you consciously know, more like intrinsically within yourself, I believe. Yeah, for me, I've been feeling it like definitely not here. I haven't really been thinking about Ascension. It's not necessarily about that. It's more like feeling like what Dalai Lama said, the idea of like not coming back. Now, how do I not come back? I love Earth, but I don't want to come back. I'm ready to experience something else. So it's about that process. And I really do believe that it is a really personal journey. And although it's personal, we can maybe not feel so alone because we can share our personal journeys with this. And maybe that's something we can do. Miss Jamie, I feel like I'm hearing my personal truth being told through your words, Kimberell. Oh, namaste. I love it when that happens. Yeah, well, we are mirrors for each other. We really, truly are. And there are moments that we have that clarity. I'm really happy to provide that for you. And in doing what I'm doing and having you say that, you provide that mirror for me. So, indeed, namaste. So, I don't see any questions. Noreen says, I fully understand what you're doing here. So I mean, that's great, because I really didn't think that, I could be very clear about what I'm doing, because this is a very complicated type of subject that I'm going to be approaching throughout the years. But I'm really happy to build this kind of hidden community within my channel. It's like the elven realms of Gondolin, where the elves were kind of hidden in Tolkien's Middle Earth. And in that way, they protect themselves from outsiders and they enjoy each other's experience more. And this is not to say that I don't respect or don't have love for others that are not there where we are, not interested, maybe have hate in their hearts about this. I don't know. I want only the best for them. But when they're ready, then they can join us. This is not to say anything about hierarchies of souls. You are where you are, and you act as you act from what you previously learned and what you know. And you can only understand people from the consciousness level of the ladder of consciousness that you see in the picture. If you're on the bottom rung, you're going to understand everything from that bottom place. If you go higher, you're going to start to understand more from that perspective. The ladder of consciousness. I am interested in climbing that ladder of consciousness with others, and we're doing it together. I don't want to do it alone anymore. It's not very fun. Sometimes I could do it with my husband, but he's not so interested. And he told me personally that he's just not there yet. He said, I'm just not there yet. I'm still learning. And I respected that. I was like, that's exactly, like, my husband is so aware enough to say that was phenomenal for me. But there are people in this world that would never even say that, never even admit it, but then they act like they don't like spiritual things, or, they think it's silly, they think it's weird. Why are we talking about this? And sometimes my husband, he doesn't want to talk about these things because he said, I'm just not there yet. I'm still figuring it out. And that's completely fine. So I guess this community is for those that are there in terms of wanting to learn more, ready to open their eyes and see really what Ascension is about. What is this that all these mystics have talked about in the past, and how we can apply it to our own lives today? And what do the elves represent in Tolkien's stories? Can't wait to go into that, because Tolkien had his own thoughts about spiritual ascension. And I did one video about, the idea of like Christ consciousness and Frodo, leaving. But I thought that this is something that needs to have more of an exploration. It can't just be in a few YouTube videos. This is something that I need to build with others. And it's just something I feel like a calling right now to do for people, because I know that we're in a time in this world where there's a lot of changes going on. There's a lot of uncertainty. And this is a time when most we need to kind of come together and unite and remind each other about our spiritual, understandings and what we have learned, because we can easily fall into the drama of Earth. And I think that's a really an easy thing to do, is to slide back down the ladder of consciousness and get stuck in the drama. And when you're higher up on the rung of consciousness, from there you get a clear point of view of humanity and what is going on in the world, and how you can make a positive impact in the world. Aliens are really just spirits or energies or consciousness forms that are past that ladder, that earthly ladder. And they have lived much longer than humans, so they can look down from the top rung of the ladder and see, oh, humans are making all these mistakes. We have learned from the past. That's all aliens really are. They represent different levels of consciousness as much as humans do on Earth. So the very, very advanced aliens, like the Pleiadians, who say that they're helping monitor life, and many of the other aliens out there, they understand what is happening with humanity because they can see from that level. And that's where all of us are trying to get, so that we can have a more open, clear perspective of our life and understand, well, why do we make the same mistakes over and over again? How can we end this karmic rebirth cycle and not have to come back to Earth in the same form of Earth, but maybe experience Earth in a totally, new way? I mean, we can talk about this more in another video, but I wanted to make this one public, to introduce this, to invite anyone in the world who wants to join this community and just have a safe space. So if you happen to come upon this video and you feel a calling towards this, or it resonates with you, then I ask you, please join, and we're going to do some really wonderful things together. And I really do hope that we can build an elven community, or we can come up with something. I don't know what the future holds. I have no idea what this membership program can bring, because it's in the very early stages. But I feel like if we put our heads together, we can really create something really beautiful in the world. And part of my goal and mission is to leave behind the world more beautiful, in the idea of not beauty in a physical way, but in a spiritual way. And we'll talk more about that and what that means together. So I am excited. I'm excited to to hang out with you all. And like I said, just join the membership program, and then you will have access to the private videos, so you can watch them at any time. You don't have to pop on when I do. I will try to vary the times so that people from around the world and different time zones can come onto a live chat. I'm going to really try to do that. And you'll have access to the community tab. So that will then open up my private posts to just members of the channel. And you'll just belong to the community and get to know everybody on each of these videos. Hopefully you can make a lot of friends and get to know each other. And it's really interesting for me. This is a whole new experience because I am very much an introvert. I like to keep to myself. But there's a real strong need now for me to connect to others. And to not keep to myself as I have in my life. So I hope that you feel comfortable to share and to be yourself on my channel. And as I said, this channel is going to be very monitored in the idea that I'm completely coming from a non-judgmental place, but I will be able to see if you have a negative intention towards others. Just because you're coming from maybe a place of unconscious fear or jealousy of others. I don't know. I don't know why people sometimes act the way they do. I do, but sometimes I don't like to think about it. But it's really just about keeping this a safe space. And so I'm just warning people about that, because I know I have some haters on my channel who like to follow me around and, leave hateful comments, but it's okay. Love you too. And I hope that, you find peace as well. But this community is not for that. We are serious spiritual seekers and seers coming together, putting our minds together, focusing weekly on a topic of ascension and enlightenment, and that will keep us in a focus, because what I find is I can get very lazy spiritually if I don't think about things. I could really kind of just sit back and just enjoy the sensations of this world, but I really want to keep our eyes ahead of how we can keep progressing, emotionally, mentally, physically. Many of us have many insecurities and pains and struggles that we still need to heal from. So we are hopefully going to heal together so that we can truly transcend and move forwards. And we will look at all these different books, and I will have plenty more to go through with you all throughout the years. So everyone, thank you so much for joining, and I hope that I see many, many new people and new members join this program, and I will see you all on the next video. I just wanted to say that those that do not join my membership, nothing is going to change on my channel, except for this is just going to be a private playlist for those who are members. The Ascension and Enlightenment is just a private playlist so that we can have a place to chat and talk privately. But my channel is going to stay the same. I have some fun things ahead coming up, and I will always share messages and ways to transcend ourselves out in the public. I will still do that, but this is just a safe space for us to just chat amongst each other, and that's really all that this membership program is about, and about coming up with maybe ideas of new projects in the world together. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I can't tell exactly what this will bring, but I'm excited for it. So I hope you all have a great night, and I will see you all later. Namaste.